Everyone always talks about these Womier boards, and I think it's due time that I check one out. So this is the Womier K87. It's a stacked acrylic TKL with a floating keycap design. But the board itself isn't new. What is new is that this is the Botanical version. So now I don't even have to go outside to touch grass. It just so happens that I have a friend who is super into the Botanical themed keycaps, but they only have a cheaper keyboard with blue switches. Yeah, that's not gonna do. As Randy Jackson famously said on American Idol, it's a no for me, dog. I figured this would be a perfect opportunity to give them an upgrade. First off, let's talk about this board stock. The nice folks at XVX Keyboard sent this over to me, and if you like what you hear, we have links in the description, and I got a little discount code down there waiting for you. Mine came with cheaper Gateron Reds. These are definitely not the worst switch, but if you plan on using them, I really recommend lubing them, and I would use Krytox 205 grade 0. The board itself has a stacked acrylic design with some really cool vines printed in the corners. I think it makes the board really unique, and I don't know about you guys, but I would love to see more themed boards like this that tie in with the keycaps. Side note, I made a TikTok about how this board perfectly matches my glass desk. Honestly, that is the truest form of a floating keycap design that I've ever seen. It just looks really cool on my desk. I'll put my TikTok link in the description. The color is this nice transparent green that goes really well with the keycaps. There are some big silicone nubs and a longer strip on the back that help give it a better typing angle. There's one thing to critique about this board. I think that the typing angle is just a little weak. Okay. I'll address the Gateron in the room. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. This could be considered by many to be a clone of GMK Botanical. But to me, there's only one thing I don't like that really screams clone to me, and it's that enter key novelty. It's the same exact design as GMK Botanical's enter key, and it just to me feels not so cool. I really wish that XVX did literally anything different with the enter key. They could have put any plant there and it would have been dope. What could have been a really original botanical themed keycap set is now just gonna forever be compared to GMK Botanical. But that's just my opinion. I think it still looks nice. I just wish that enter key was different. I still feel like these keycaps are different enough in their own way. I think the dark green is way darker than GMK Botanical, and there's also Hiragana sub-legends, and they're also in XVX's own profile instead of cherry. The keycaps are thick though, and pretty decent quality for a set that comes with the board. Overall thoughts on this board? I think it's a really solid choice if you love the Botanical aesthetic. Stock is definitely better than your average gamer keyboard, and I feel like it's at a fair price. I do wish that these manufacturers would start offering better budget switches though in their pre-builts, like JWICs or KTTs. I'm starting to look like a cheap Gateron switch hoarder. I will literally never use these. Does anyone need these? Because I don't need them. They're taking up closet space. And you can probably tell because I took these out of the board that I modded this thing. It is so much better. To quickly go over it, I took the board fully apart, take off all the screws at the bottom, and the 3 acrylic layers come undone. The top acts as the plate and will touch the PCB when put together. What holds the PCB to the rest of the case is the switches. So after everything was taken apart, I went to town on the stabilizers. These are plate mounted stabs, but I actually really like plate mounted stabs. I think once you do the Band-Aid mod, they sound awesome. So I was pretty confident that I was gonna be able to make these sound good. I took them apart, lubed the housings and the stems with Krytox 205 grade 0, and then went to work on the wires. For the wires, I put dielectric grease. When I'm lubing these cheaper plate-mounted stabilizers, I like to use dielectric grease on the inside because I feel like it's like super thick and gonna suck up any of that rattle. Also, a side note, I noticed that the stems of the stabs had this like extra piece of plastic that was kind of giving me cherry clip-in vibes, so I trimmed them. Now, before putting the stabilizers back in the board, I had to do the Band-Aid mod. Basically, all the Band-Aid mod does is it holds the housings of the stabilizers in place super tight so that they don't rattle around. I actually matched the Band-Aids to the rest of the board because I'm a nerd. There's no dancing around that. I have these like cute welly Band-Aids. You can get them at like any store now. They look super cute and they match perfectly. I then took the PCB and did the trusty dusty Tempest tape mod. Basically where you put a bunch of tape on the back of the PCB, and for some magical reason it makes the board sound really consistent and really good and poppy. Couldn't tell you why it does that. All I know is that it's magical and it works every time. Now, I didn't know what switches I wanted to put in this board, but then I saw that L Board was having this amazing sale, half off of their already sale section, and I ended up picking the Duroc L7 linears. Mini switch review, I think they're an incredibly solid linear, especially for the price that I got them at, and I'm pretty happy with them. I understand why they're Bix's favorite switch. They also matched pretty well, and I like the dark smoky housing that is going to show through because this is a floating keycap design. I also made sure to test the stabilizers and plug the butt as needed. Now, I felt like I could only take the stabilizer so far. The shorter stab keys sound really good, but the spacebar was still a little janky. I did plug the butt and tried to mitigate the rattle as much as possible though, and I think overall they sound pretty decent. So after putting the rest of the keycaps on there, it was basically done. I put the rest of the board together, flipped it over, and started typing on it. For a $90 keyboard and $20-something in switches, this is a great board. I'm super duper excited to give this to my friend. This is definitely a good option for those of you that are in budgeting, and overall I think it's really solid, and I'm super excited to give it to my friend. They don't know really anything about custom mechanical keyboards, but they did a little bit of research and just fell in love with Botanical themed keycap sets. So I think they're gonna love this. Now, of course, this wouldn't be any fun without me getting my friend's reaction to getting the keyboard for the first time. I can't imagine what it's gonna feel like to their virgin fingertips, going from whatever random box blue switches were on their old keyboard to what we have here is beautiful linear Durox. And I'm super excited for them to have their first genuinely solid modded keyboard. So stay tuned for my friend's reaction to getting a free keyboard. And please do not ask me in the comments for a free, actually no, ask me in the comments for a free keyboard because it helps my video do better. Forget to subscribe, don't ring the bell, and don't like this video. And as always, don't be a stranger.